So we are recording, and officially welcome everyone. I am so excited for this class, for this series of classes that I'm doing, this Foundations, Katonah Yoga Foundations. Truly my intention with these classes is to present some of the foundational material behind the Katonah Yoga practice. I know some of you have jumped into full-length classes with me before, and you've probably gotten something great out of it. You probably did great, but it can be quite a different experience if you're not used to the style of the practice. And so my intention with these classes is to present some of the poses and give us more time to break down the postures, and then also introduce the material on a slower pace or more digestible pace, and then let us have a little bit of a time for discussion. So we will have that towards the end. But before we get into anything today, I did a little video on Instagram this morning, but I know not everyone is on Instagram. And I wanted to introduce Katonah Yoga. Like, what is it? The best question I get all the time is like, well, what does Katonah mean? And the funny thing is, or the not funny thing is, that Katonah is just a town in New York. And it's where this practice was founded by a woman named Naveen. She's developed this over the last 40 years, and it's heavily based in a Hatha style practice. So if anybody is familiar with Hatha or has done Hatha before, Hatha is usually seen as slower, longer holds, versus like a vinyasa or a power class. And so that's where a lot of the physical practice of the Katonah Yoga practice is based. But Naveen also brought in Taoist theory, traditional Chinese medicine, sacred geometry, a little bit more fire from what I feel comes from more of the Kundalini lineage. And so the Katonah Yoga experience is a blend of all of those things. And why I love this practice and why I'm teaching it now, it's pretty much all that I teach with my own spin on it, of course, is I grew up. I grew up in the yoga world doing vinyasa and power yoga, which I still love to do on occasion. But after practicing that way and teaching that style for many years, I got burnt out. I got burnt out both physically, of like being in a hot room, like doing all these warrior poses, going through postures really quickly. And I also got burnt out as a teacher. I was bored of, or maybe bored isn't the right word, but that's the word that's coming to me now. I was bored of there was no material underneath it. What I was teaching was just a physical practice. And although there was some stories and lineages with the practice, it didn't land for me. And so I stopped teaching for, I think it was almost a year or a year and a half. And during that time, I found the Katonah practice through a studio called The Studio in New York City. And this practice totally reinvigorated my own yoga practice and my desire to teach. And truly what it is, yes, the postures, the physical practice itself is invigorating. It's also soothing. It's very effective and therapeutic. But it's also the theory that goes behind the practice that has made me come back for more again and again and again. So that's how I found this practice. And it's now, in the last year, I've become officially a Katonah certified teacher. And so this is what I teach. Just check if we have anyone waiting in the waiting room. No, very good. Cool. So before we get into physical movement today, I want to introduce three main theory ideas behind the Katonah Yoga practice. And you'll see as we move into the practice, into the physical part, these ideas will come up, these concepts will come up, but I want to introduce them now. And then if there are questions, I want to encourage you to stay with the practice as we do the physical part. And then at the end, we'll have time for questions and discussion. So the first principle, I guess, that I wanted to introduce today is this idea that the body is a house, or the body is our home. And this is something very fundamental to the Katonah Yoga practice. You'll hear in a lot of the classes, we as teachers reference different floors of the body, which we're going to introduce today. But before we go into any of the details, I just wanted to present that idea as the body is a home. It is your house. It is not a temple. It is also not a garbage truck or a garbage bin. It's your house. It's a functional, comfortable place for you to live. And if anybody has owned a house, I haven't owned a house, but I have an idea of what it might be like. I've heard from some friends. It requires upkeep. You don't just get delivered a beautiful home and then you don't do anything with it. You have to flush the toilets. You have to clean things out. Ever so often, you might have to replace something, open up the windows, do some spring cleaning. And so from the Katonah viewpoint, your body is your house, and the practices that you do daily through a physical asana, physical yoga practice, through breath work, through meditation, through any other modalities that you might choose, that's our way of upkeeping our house. And again, sometimes it's just like the daily things, like you want to dust, you want to open up your windows, you got to flush your toilets. And sometimes there's bigger renovations that need to take place. So your body is a house. It does require maintenance. And then I did want to introduce, like I mentioned, a little bit more about the concept of this house. It's not just like, okay, here's your house and all parts of your house are equal. In a house, we have a bathroom, which is for going to the bathroom, maybe for taking a shower. We have a kitchen, which is for cooking food, maybe for gathering. You have a bedroom for sleeping, for dreaming. And the same thing is true when we apply this as a metaphor to the body. And today I want to talk about the 3 floors of the body. Some of you have maybe heard me mention this before, either on retreat with me, in class, but I want to spend a little bit more time just explaining these 3 floors, because maybe it's something that you've heard of and it doesn't land fully, or you're kind of like, well, what does that mean? So in the body house, so if I'm applying this metaphor as the body as a house to myself, we have 3 floors. The bottom floor is from our digestive system down. So really from the diaphragm down is the bottom floor. So it's your legs, it's your feet, it's your pelvis, it's your reproductive organs, it's your digestive organs. And when we think of that, first, what do you think of when you think of the bottom floor, maybe the basement of a house? And this is you don't have to obviously answer right now, just think in your head. I think of the foundation. It's the stability. You don't just build a house on turf. I mean, there are some houses on stilts and things, but you build a strong foundation. And so in our body house, the bottom third of us, or this bottom floor of us, is all about our stability. So when we work on poses in the legs, when we work on poses in the hips, it's all about our stability and how this stability can then support the second 2 floors of the body. So first floor, stability. Second floor, which is from your diaphragm up actually to your mouth. So it's not like just at your neck to your face, it's up to your mouth. And this second floor of the body, we would consider this like the second floor of the house. It's the living quarters. It's where you might invite someone in. So if you think of what you're doing with your body, you might shake someone's hand, you might give someone a hug. This is really our interaction with the world. It's interaction with others, and it is our ability. It's things we learn how to do, how we're capable, how we handle things. And yeah, we think about some of the organs that are in this part of the body. We have the heart, which traditionally is thought of as love and romance and connection. We also have the lungs, which take in and eliminate breath, air, prana. And so this is our second floor. It's our ability. Oh, and our mouth, which is about speaking and communicating. So any poses that we do in this middle floor, the second floor of the body, are going to help support our ability, our capability, which is something as a society we're really good at. We might not be that stable, but we're really good at Googling things, figuring things out, like just getting them done, being super capable, which is why we see a lot of people with strong upper bodies, with hunched shoulders, with tight neck and shoulders. And that's kind of the manifestation of this, of being too strong here. And then we have the third floor of the house, which comes like above the mouth up and is also like above your head, your connection to something bigger than you. And this is your vision. So this is, if you think of the third floor, the top floor of the house, it's probably the bedrooms, it's the sleeping quarters. Maybe you have like an artist's nook, or you have like a little cupola at the top of your house. I mean, who has a cupola these days, but we can dream, right? You can look out around you and you can have a bigger vision. And if you, again, just think of anatomy, like what's up here, it's my eyes, what's out there, I can see in the world, it's my mind, my vision, my dreams, my creativity, that's what is up here. So it is our vision, it's our connection to something bigger than us, it's creativity. And so when we work on poses that are for this third floor of the body, that is what we are working with. So first floor, stability, second floor, ability, and third floor, vision. All right, let's do a little bit of practice. So today we are going to work mainly in the lower body. Something that we say in Katonah Yoga is you do one thing to do everything. So we often don't just say, oh, this is a hips class, or this is a shoulders class. We really want to do everything, because at the end of the day, you want to be a well-rounded being, and how you are in your legs is connected to how you are in your arms. Like, we're not siloed individuals. We're not siloed physical beings, but we are going to do some work in the upper body and really, or in the lower body today, and really cover some of the foundational poses: down dog, up dog, plank, cat and cow, and maybe do a hang if we have time, and how we want to go ahead and set that up. So if you're seated, you can go ahead and find yourself on your mat. I'm just going to check that we don't have anyone else in the waiting room here. We do not. Cool. And go ahead and find yourself back to your mat. And I do have some props here. I'm going to talk about props another time. We're not really going to need any props today. But if you do have a yoga block, or if you have a shoebox, a book, or something with a right angle, that is helpful to have with you. And if you see me looking at the iPad right here, it's just because I'm looking at you guys on the iPad, because it's a little bit easier to see than the screen up there. So go ahead and find yourself in a tabletop position. And then right away, tuck your toes and send your hips up and back to your downward facing dog. So in this class, I really encourage you, if you need to come down onto your knees, if you need to take a break and look at your screen to kind of visualize what I'm doing first, you are more than welcome to. So in our down dog, we really want to have an archetypical 60-degree triangle. So 60-degree angle in your hip, 60-degree angle between your arms and the mat, 60-degree angle between your legs and the mat. And because we don't have compasses hanging out around us, how we set that up is first by finding a 90-degree angle in our plank pose. So you can come forward into your plank. You might need to walk your hands back, or your hands forward, your feet back, or your feet forward. And you want to find that 90 degrees. So notice if your shoulders are over your wrists, or if they're coming back here. Find that nice long spine here. And the legs should be firing back, so you're on the toes. Keeping your hands and feet right where they are. Bend your knees and send your hips up and back for your downward facing dog. So in your downward facing dog, bend your knees. You can pedal your feet out, Okay. You can pedal your feet out and just get accustomed to being on all fours. What we are looking for here is a nice crease in the hips and the sitting bones pointing straight up. That's why I encourage you all to bend your knees and lift your heels up. So this is something that you can try in your body. I know in my original yoga training, I was taught to straighten the legs, like you want to work for straight legs and heels down to the mat. But all that really does, and you can look up towards me if you'd like for this, if I straighten my legs and I bring my heels down to the mat, for me, that puts me in my lower back. When you lock a joint, so if I'm locking the knees here, I'm not really using the full strength, the full ability of my legs. I'm locking the joint and I'm actually prohibiting myself from using that full structure. So if I keep my legs straight, my heels pressed down, I feel this in my lower back. I also feel it like I'm dumping into my shoulders. As compared to when I lift my heels, I bend my knees and I can lift my buttock bones up more. I have more length in my spine. I can use that stability of my legs to hold myself up versus just trying to stretch out the legs and dump totally into my shoulders. So why don't we all try that for a moment? First, once again, come forward into your plank pose, and we're going to be holding some of these poses for a while, so anytime feel free to come down. And then hips up and back, downward facing dog. Bend those knees, lift the heels up, lift the buttock bones up. See if you can get your lower belly to touch your upper thighs. See if you can press the floor away, imagining that you're growing longer out of your armpits. And ideally, if you would see yourself from the side here, you would see that 60-degree equilateral triangle. You wouldn't see, so if you guys want to look forward towards me, you wouldn't see a break. So if I'm coming forward here, you would see a break in the line of the triangle, so I don't really look like a triangle. But if I bend my knees, lift my hips up, and press the floor away, I have one long line from wrist to shoulder, and then a line, although there is a bend in the knees, from my buttock bones to my heels. Go ahead and come down onto all fours. Just take a little moment to rest. Oh, nice. Kim's going outside. Beautiful. I know it was supposed to be rainy today, but the sun is actually out here. So just taking a moment of rest. Like I said, these are foundational practices. We got someone else coming in. This is meant to be a foundational series, but by no means is any of this necessarily easy, especially if you're used to doing it a different way. So while everyone's seated, I just want to show you that one more time. I know I feel like I'm saying this a few different times, but I do want you to see the difference. And then you can start to apply it either right now or if you're coming to the 4 o'clock class, you can do it in the 4 o'clock class. You can do it in another class and apply it in your own body and play around with it in your own body. So we can always measure out a down dog from a plank pose. So finding that plank, and you can just watch me for this one. Heels firing back, shoulders stack over wrists, heart reaches forward. And then hands and feet don't move. You bend the knees, you lift the hips up and back for your downward facing dog. So as compared to legs straight, kind of legs locked, dumping into my shoulders or my lower back, I'm keeping a little buoyancy in the heels and bending the knees and lifting up and out, creating more length in the spine. Whatever the heels of your feet are doing are what the heels of your butt are doing. So if you drop the heels of your feet, you drop your buttock bones. So we can all try that once again. So measure out into your plank and then send it back to a dog. And maybe you try it, even if your feet don't stretch or your heels don't stretch all the way down to the mat, just drop them, try totally straightening the legs and feel what that feels like. Notice what your buttock bones are doing. And then lift your heels, bend your knees, And imagine that those buttock bones could lift up. Once again, notice where you might be holding the weight, noticing the difference you might feel here. I know I feel a huge difference. Good. And then come forward to your plank once again. So this is always a great place to come back to measure out. Shoulders over wrists, heels spire back. And then in the Katonah practice, we do what's called a modified upward facing dog. So you'll drop the hips just a few inches. The heart stays lifting between the arms and the heels keep firing back. So this might be a little challenging to see just because I'm in dark colors and my mat is in dark colors, but I'm not dropping my hips all the way down to the ground and letting this collapse into my lower back. I'm staying lifted and buoyant. And then you hinge back to a dog. So you bend at the hips and you hinge back to your downward facing dog. Let's try that again. Inhale, come forward to your plank. Drop your hips, modified upward facing dog. If you start to feel it in your lower back, stay lifted a little bit more. And then downward facing dog, hips go up and back. And then ideally you can move between those two poses, just moving through your joint space, which is the space that we are meant to move through. It's literally where we are designed to move through. So I'm just gonna check out how you guys are doing here. Beautiful. So nice. Lauren, I think your hands could be a little bit closer. So I'm gonna show you guys how we can measure out the hands and the shoulders. So go ahead and come back to sit back down onto your heels or sit back. And within the Katonah practice, maybe you've already heard me say, like, we want our shoulders right over our wrists, our hips right over our knees. We use these measurements because we want you to be in joint space. Like I mentioned, your joints are literally the place that you are designed to move from. We are not designed to just move from the strength of our muscles. We really want to be able to, yes, of course, the muscles come into play, but you move from your joints. And so we want to be in alignment, not just for alignment's sake, but so that we are moving from that joint space. So two really fundamental setups that you want to get comfortable knowing how to measure out or how to play around with is your hips width distance and your shoulder width distance. And so we're going to play with this in our cat and cow. So go ahead and come to all fours, tabletop position. And first, just do it how you do it. So if someone were to say, come to all fours, just go ahead and find yourself in what your normal tabletop would be. Nice. So how we want you to set up so that you are in your hip joint and you're in your shoulders and in your wrists properly is that your hands are shoulder width distance and your knees are hip width distance. So let's all go to sit back on our heels. You don't have to sit all the way back. We're not going to be here for long, just to measure out hip width distance. If we were standing up, I would have you turn one foot in towards the other, but obviously we can't do that here. Your foot is a hip width distance apart. What you can do is put two fists. Two fists is also a hip width distance apart. So you can put that right between your knees and measure out your hips width distance. So right between the knees, not really like the fleshy part of the thigh, really like the kneecap. And also you should be able to see the knees pointing straight forward. So we're not like in a wide knees child's pose. There's also some space between the legs. Crawl yourself forward. Now, if you do have a block, the final measurement, we want hips width distance, shoulder width distance. We also want our legs to be at 90 degrees so that they're sitting into that joint space. And that's where you can use a block to measure out your thigh and make it at 90 degrees, or you can use a book or a shoebox. But that is extra credit for now. To find your shoulders with distance, you're going to turn your hands towards one another. And so the fingers, the middle finger should just touch. So you turn your hands towards one another, the middle finger just touches, and that is your shoulder width distance. So just notice, maybe you normally put your hands really wide. Are you someone who takes on more than you need? Maybe you put your hands really narrow. Are you someone who doesn't like to take up more space? It's all just interesting information. So fingers turn in towards one another. That's your shoulder width distance. Then point your fingers forward so you're back in this normal tabletop position. And then this is where we can find that 90 degrees. Again, if you have a block, you can go ahead and measure that out using the block up against the thigh, the block up against the forearm. 90 degrees will get you into that joint space in the wrists as well. So finding your nice sturdy table here, you should really look like a table with strong legs, with good angles. And when you have a stable foundation, then you can move with safety. So from here, we'll just do a few cat and cows. You can inhale, drop your belly, lift your heart, look up. Exhale, coil and round. And for today, really let this movement, see if you can let it come from the pelvis. So just moving your pelvis forward and back. Of course, your upper body is going to move too because it's all connected. See if you can undulate by driving yourself forward and back with the pelvis. Press the tops of your feet down into the mat. So I know a lot of times teachers teach to tuck the toes. That's not what we're going to do here. Press those feet into the mat. That helps take a little pressure off of the knees. And then move through about 5 more. So sometimes in class, we'll say go a little bit faster, really create some fire here. You can do that. Or you can go slow. You don't always want to do what's easy for you because what's easy for you is not necessarily going to be therapeutic. It's not necessarily going to make a change in your body or in your life. Beautiful. All right, come back to hands and knees, stillness. And let's tuck the toes and come back into one more downward facing dog. So tuck your toes, send your hips up and back, downward facing dog. Inhale, come forward to your plank, find that 90 degrees. Hopefully your hands are still shoulder width distance, your feet are hip width distance. And then send it back to a dog, keeping the knees bent. Press through your hands, lift up through your buttock bones, find that length in the spine. And then drop the knees down, come to sit, come to sit. How are we doing? Give me just a little thumbs up. You can give me a thumbs down if you want to give me a thumbs down. We are going to move into a little bit of pranayama, which is breath work, and then a meditation, and then we will have some time for questions. So in Katonah Yoga, we incorporate all 3 of these practices. So we do the asana practice or the physical movement practice. We do pranayama or breath work, and then we do meditation. And why we incorporate all 3 of these, what we say is yoga is like origami for the body. So you're folding your body, you're folding and unfolding, you're moving it around, you're cleaning up your joints, you're moving energy. Pranayama, so then you're folding your body, you make an origami cup with your physical practice. The breathwork practice is like filling up the cup, and you can think of whatever you want to fill your cup up with. Maybe it is fresh squeezed juice or an elixir or a tonic or just really delicious pure water. And then meditation, sitting with all of that you've created, meditation is like taking a drink from the cup. So in all of my classes, I try and incorporate, or it's always my intention to incorporate all 3 of these pieces. The asana practice, usually the physical practice is usually a bigger part, but especially in these foundational classes, I want to make sure that we have time for pranayama and meditation, because that's really where a lot of the magic happens, where a lot of the integration happens. So we're just going to do about 5 minutes of breath work, maybe not even that much, and a few minutes of meditation, then we'll open it up for Q&A. So with pranayama, if you've never done breath work before, if you've never done this sort of breath work before, it can make you feel things. You might have emotions come up. You might be like, I can't do this. I'm never going to be able to finish. Just sit with it. sit with whatever comes up for you. And the purpose of this sometimes, like I said, it's to agitate you, it's to bring the stuff up and out, and sometimes it's to soothe you. Today, we're going to do more of a balancing pranayama practice, so it'll be a little bit of everything. But my encouragement is just to stick with it, whatever you're feeling physically, emotionally. If you do ever feel lightheaded, I would recommend finding your feet. So either finding your, pressing your feet, you can press your hands on your thighs. Maybe it means you're not fueled or you're not hydrated. If your arms or legs ever start to fall asleep in a pose, it usually means that blood is coming to the center of your body where your organs are. So that's actually fine. We're not going to be in the seat likely long enough for your arms and legs to fall asleep, but I just like to give that heads up. So comfortable seat, I'm sitting on a block right here, the lowest level, so that both of my sit bones can be on it. And then I'm also going to put a blanket in between the block just to give myself a little bit more height. Pull the flesh away from your sitting bones. And you can do this on a chair. So you could sit on a chair like this on the edge of the chair. The important thing is that you want your perineum, which is, you can think of it as your pelvic floor. It's technically the space between the genitals and the anus. You want that pointing straight down. And that means that you are on the center of yourself. You're really stable. So find your hands on your thighs, pull the flesh away from your sitting bones, and then notice if you're shifting too far forward or too far back, and just come to your center. And then we're going to reach the arms up into a V, make your hands into cup. Some of you have been to class with me, know this breath work. We're going to do a breath of fire, Kapalabhati. It's a sharp exhale out through the nose. And the breath comes from the belly. So it looks and sounds like this. So whenever you're ready, you can begin. I recommend closing the eyes, just letting your focus be inward, and begin to pump the breath out. So it's out, 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 keeping up a pretty steady, a pretty quick rhythm. And at the beginning, maybe this is a little awkward, or maybe it becomes more challenging as you go on, but just continue to pump the breath. So again, we're stoking this fire within you. We're creating this agitation so that anything that's ready to come out, whether that's a physical feeling, an emotion, an energy, it can come out. Let's go for another 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take a deep breath in. Hold your breath full, hook your thumbs above your head. Go down to your pelvic floor, squeeze it up and in like you're sealing the bottom of your container. And then as you exhale, imagine the breath shooting out the crown of the head, like you're popping a cork of a champagne bottle. Let the arms come down, let the eyes stay closed. Take a regular breath in and a regular breath out. Good. Okay. The next breath that we're going to do is, it's going to be an inhale, exhale. So while the one we just did was all exhale, this is going to be an even in and out. Your hands are going to come to your shoulders. And as you inhale, you're going to turn to the left. And as you exhale, you're going to turn to the right. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Your lower body stays right where it is. So this breath is really working on that second floor. We're moving the diaphragm. You can close your eyes, or if it feels better for you, you can keep your eyes open for this one, but I find I get a little bit dizzy. In and out, in and out. And just spinning around yourself. So while before we were only focusing on the exhale, we were really burning stuff up, shooting stuff out. Right now, we are moving things around. So moving to the left, moving to the right, and spinning around ourselves, but finding that center line that runs within us. Go for another 10. Take a deep breath in, hook your thumbs above your head. This time we'll sip in 3 more little sips of air like you're sipping through a straw. Once again, go down to your pelvic floor, hold it in, suck it all up. And exhale, imagine the breath shooting out the crown of the head. Let the arms rain down, hands rest on your thighs. Keep your eyes closed. Maybe already you notice a shift in energy in how you're feeling. This is the power of the pranayama practice. Good. And then we're going to do one more here. And this is a breath specifically for our immune system. So you're going to bring one hand out, one hand in. It doesn't matter because we're going to be switching sides. And you're going to tap your thymus gland. So the thymus gland is right here in the center of the chest. And that is said to be the center of our immunity, at least in Chinese medicine. So you'll tap your thymus gland. And once again, all on the exhale, it'll be an out, 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 out. And you can think maybe you're doing a waltz, you're doing a dance, and your arms go from side to side. So not only is this work for your breath, for your lungs, you're also working that ability, that second floor, moving the arms. So go ahead and close your eyes and just continue to pump it out. So through the nose, all on the exhale. Each time you tap the center of your chest, you can think you're stimulating that thymus gland. You're stimulating your immunity, something we're all really focused on right now. Out, out, out. You can think that you are taking things out. So any thoughts, any feelings, anything that's no longer serving you, you can imagine that you're taking it out here. Really, that's what our immune system does. It identifies things that are not serving us and sends them out. So let's go for another few. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Deep breath in, hook the thumbs above your head. One last time, take in 3 more little sips. Go down to your pelvic floor, squeeze it in and up. And then exhale, imagine the breath popping out the crown of the head. Let the arms come down, rest the palms on the thighs. Keep the eyes closed. Noticing where you're at. Noticing how that practice was for you. The physical practice, the pranayama practice. And we're going to walk through a brief meditation here, just to wrap it all up. This meditation is called the Magic Square. Some of you might be familiar with it. And it's simply a way to travel the body with the imagination. So you'll just listen to the sound of my voice where I'm guiding you. And as we go through these different places in the body, bring your breath, your attention, your energy there. So take a moment, take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And then imagine a golden thread dropping down from the universe, down through your skull, through your throat, through the center of your chest, down out through that perineum into the center of the earth. Finding that central axis, that central channel that connects you to both the sky, the heavens above you, the earth, the ground beneath you. On your next breath, travel up to the back of your head on the right. It's the back of the head on the right, just bringing breath, energy, attention, awareness there. And then continue to travel around your back to your right shoulder, your right arm, your right hand, the side of the heart. Bounce up to the left eye, the front of the head on the left. Again, just bringing breath, energy, attention, awareness there. Maybe you sit up a little higher from that lift. And then on your next breath, you'll travel down to the center of your chest. Most that thymus gland area, the center of you. Continue that path down to find your right hip, your right leg, your right foot. And then bounce up to the right arm, the right hand, the side of the liver. Travel around your back to your left leg, your left foot, your left hip. And then come up through the center of you to your third eye, your brow center. And on your last breath, you'll draw a circle around yourself, circling yourself in this little cocoon that you've created. Take a breath in and a breath out. One more inhale. And one more exhale. You can go ahead and open up your eyes. And I am going to unmute us so that we can, so that if you have questions, you can ask questions. Let me just unmute. Oh. So feel free if you have any questions, you can ask your questions. If you just want to share how that was, if there was something interesting for you, I'm game. I have until 4 o'clock, which is the full body class, which you all are welcome to participate into. We will go over and go in more depth. We're going to do the poses that we did in class today. The down dog, plank, up dog, and cat and cow. That will all be included, as well as some of this breath work. Devin said, see a little chat here. Your breath work is magical. I'm high, LOL. Yes, that's what breath work can do for you. Kim said that meditation is my favorite. Thank you so much. I wish I had a long recording of that. Work in progress. Marta said that was lovely. Thank you so much, Emily. You guys are so welcome. Yeah, so if there's anything that I talked about in the theory side or the physical side, please let me know. I'm here. That's what this is meant to be. It's meant to be like a conversation, a little mini workshop. Everyone's just high from the breath work.
Emily, when you said this from here is our vision, when we're doing the full yoga classes, what are the things that we do that you often look forward to our future, like to our vision?
Yeah, sorry, you're cutting out a little bit, Lucinda, but I think your question is, what are the poses, what are the things that we do that activate the third floor?
Yeah. Because
it feels like a lot of our practice is down here and here, which is true, which is why we need to do things. So breath work can definitely touch all 3 floors, but I think of breath work as definitely activating more of the 3rd floor. Any poses where you're on your head, so something like a headstand, also activates the 3rd floor. And truly the best use of your 3rd floor is your imagination. And that's what I introduced a little bit in this practice, and it's something that I bring into all my classes, is using the imagination to travel the poses. So even if we were in a pigeon pose, which is a deep hip opener, it's more like lower body, if we use the imagination to say, use that magic square meditation within the pose, that would activate the 3rd floor for sure. So having a vision, and that's where the third floor, is definitely less of, the physical practice that we're used to. It's the meditation, it's the breath work, it's using the imagination. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Very cool. Great question. What else? Even if you have an insight, if there's something that you were like, oh, that made sense, or like, I'm not clear on that. I really do want to know. Like I said, it's a newer format and I want it to be helpful for you all. So I'm open. I'm just going to read Devin's comments. Devin said, I love this. Definitely felt like a workshop. I was taking notes about the floors, the body. Great question, Lucinda. Robin said, thank you. That was amazing, Emily. Devin said, this was so helpful. Looking forward to more. Yeah, so in each of these classes, I'm just going to, like I said, we're just going to do a few of the physical postures. We'll do some breath work. We'll do some meditation. And then if you do feel excited or ready and you want more, come to the 4 o'clock class and we will take all of this a little bit deeper. And with any of this, like I said, even the foundations, teaching while practicing is a challenge in itself. I was out of breath just holding plank for a few extra breaths or being in down dog for that long. So if you need a break, take a break. But like I mentioned in class, and you'll probably hear me say this a number of times, what you need, what's most therapeutic for you, isn't always easy. It's not necessarily going to be the thing that you like to do. I like to eat chocolate. If I ate chocolate every single day for every single meal, that wouldn't necessarily be therapeutic for me. We need to do things that help balance us out. And that's where this practice has been really helpful for me, in the fact that it is so structured and it is pretty challenging in okay, we're not just going to do hip opener poses. We're going to do everything. We do everything for everything. Cool. Well, I will hang out for a few more minutes. If anybody else has another question, like I said, you all are welcome to come to 4 o'clock. I know some of you already are. There is a different Zoom link. If you didn't get that, let me know. I'm going to send a little reminder just to the 4 o'clock people now so that they have that. But yeah, thank you all for coming. Thank you for the sweet messages. Kim said, thank you. You make this so accessible. You all are, you're so sweet. You're so amazing. Please let me know. And if you just want to send me a message loved this piece, would love more information on this, want you to talk about this, let me know. Like I said, I'm doing this every Sunday, 3 p.m. for the rest of May. So we have lots of Sundays in May. I think there's 5, lots of time. All right, my loves. Thank you so much for coming. I'll see some of you guys in just a few moments. And if not, enjoy the day. Enjoy your week.
Thank you, Emily.
Bye. All right.
See you in a few.
See you in a few.